In this video, we are going to talk about adjectives which come before and after the noun. Cominciamo!
Buongiorno a tutti, benvenuti a Coffee Break Italian. Io sono Mark.
Salve a tutti, io sono Francesca.
And as Francesca said, today we are answering a question, and this question is coming from our listener John. John wants to know, does grande, the adjective grande, come before or after the noun? Francesca, it's a little bit of a trick question, isn't it?
It is, but we can give some explanations and some ideas on how to use adjectives in Italian.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, first of all, I should say that the standard position for adjectives in Italian is after the noun. So, for example, mangio una mela rossa.
So I eat a red apple, mangio una mela rossa.
O Giulia è una ragazza simpatica.
Julia is a nice girl.
O ancora un esempio, ho un amico spagnolo.
So I have a Spanish friend. That all makes sense. So these adjectives are all going after the noun.
Yes, so if in doubt, just place it after the noun. However, as pointed out by John, there are some adjectives in Italian which can actually be moved. So they can be placed after the noun in the standard position, but they can also be moved in front of the noun. And when that happens, the meaning changes a little bit.
Okay.
So shall we just start maybe with a list of the most common adjectives which can be moved?
That sounds like a good idea. Okay, so we've got our sheet here ready to go.
Okay, so for example, grande.
Okay, so grande, as John suggested, grande meaning
Sì.
big, but we'll see what happens to it, the meaning-wise, when we change the location of it.
Esatto. Piccolo.
Okay, so piccolo, small.
Molto bene. E poi vecchio.
Ah, right, old. Okay, vecchio. Okay,
E nuovo.
the opposite, I guess.
Sì.
Nuovo, new.
And some other adjectives are, for example, povero.
Povero, so poor.
E ancora alto.
Alto, so tall.
Bello e buono.
Okay, so beautiful and good, bello, buono. Anything else?
Maybe diverso.
Ah, okay, different. So diverso. Okay, could we take a couple of these and then give some examples where we'll put the adjective once before and then once after and see what that does to the sentence?
Certo, let's start from grande,
Okay.
which was the question from John. I'll give you two simple examples. If I were to say Mauro è un attore grande.
Okay, Mauro è un attore grande. Okay.
This is the standard position of the adjective, and by placing grande after the noun, we're just stressing its literal meaning. We're just talking about the size, let's say, of Mauro. So we're really saying that Mauro is an actor who is not small.
Okay, that sounds good. What happens then if we put that before the noun? So the sentence would be?
Mauro è un grande attore.
Mauro è un grande attore.
Perfetto.
So there we've taken grande and put it before the noun. So what's happening now?
In this case, we're not really using grande with its literal meaning, but it's more, let's say, figurative. So we're not interested in the actual size of Mauro. We don't want to know if Mauro is big or small or tall, but we're talking about his qualities as an actor. So we're really saying that Mauro is a great actor, but we don't know if he's big or small, really.
So, for example, we could say Danny DeVito è un grande attore.
Sì, certamente.
even though he's not very grande. Okay,
No.
let's take another example then.
Ok, prendiamo l'aggettivo vecchio. Let's take
Vecchio.
the adjective
Okay,
vecchio,
so we've
which
got
means
that.
old. And normally it's used to describe the age of someone or something.
Okay,
So, for example, Serena è un'amica vecchia di mia madre.
okay, so Serena è un'amica vecchia
Sì,
di mia madre.
perfetto.
Okay, so Serena is an old friend of my mother. Now,
Yes, in this case, we are giving information about the age of Serena. So we want to say that Serena is not very young. And this is how we are describing Serena. So Serena being old and not young.
okay, so
So
what
this is the
happens?
literal meaning as it happened before.
So what happens when we put vecchia before the noun?
If we say Serena è una vecchia amica di mia madre, in this case, we are not really interested in the literal meaning of the adjective vecchio. We're not really using vecchia here as opposed to young, giovane, but it's more figurative again. So we are describing the friendship between my mother and Serena, which is a long friendship, but maybe they are both quite young. And we're not really giving information about Serena's age, but it's just the type of friendship between the two of them.
Okay, so there we have this figurative meaning, vecchia, meaning the old friendship rather than the old age of Serena. She might be very young, but they might have been friends for a long time. So she's an old friend of my mum, not she's a friend of my mum who's old, as it were.
Esatto, perfetto.
Okay, let's take one more example. I think it's beginning to make sense. Let's take one more example.
Okay, I'm glad it's making sense. Let's take the adjective nuovo, new.
Okay, so where we got nuovo, let's take nuovo then.
Okay, and it can be very subtle with the nuovo, but I just want to show you two examples. If I say vorrei un cellulare nuovo.
Vorrei un cellulare nuovo.
Nuovo.
Okay, so that looks like I would like a new phone, a new mobile phone, cell phone.
Esatto, sì. And by placing nuovo after cellulare, you want to stress the fact that, for example, you don't want an old phone, but you want a brand
Brand new
new phone. So this is the literal meaning
Okay.
of nuovo. But again, if we change the position of nuovo, it can be really subtle here. But by saying vorrei un nuovo cellulare,
Okay, so there, are you saying you want like another one, a
yes,
different one?
exactly. You just want another mobile phone, but you're not really saying if you want it to be new or second hand. You just want
different one.
another phone. But I understand that this can be a little bit subtle and probably not immediate to understand.
Good. Okay, so those are some examples from this list. The main thing here is that if it goes after the noun, it's the physical, the literal meaning of the adjectives. And if it comes before the noun, then it's this more figurative meaning.
Esatto, perfetto. I think this summarizes everything perfectly, Mark.
Well, John, we hope that this answers your question. If you have a question like John, then make sure you get in touch with us. Simply go to coffeebreakquestions.com where you can fill in the form, leave your question for us, and we'll hopefully be able to include that in a future episode of our show. Now, if you've liked this video, then make sure you give it a like, and then you can subscribe to our channel too. And if you click the little bell icon that appears, then you'll be notified whenever we post new videos.
And if you want to practice this grammar point a little bit further, you can just write a sentence using one of these adjectives and post it in the comments here below.
Benissimo. Grazie mille, Francesca.
Grazie a te, Mark.
E alla prossima.
Ciao ciao!